Okay, so what we want to do is go into the content and pull down Module 9 project. So I'm going to go in there. You guys should do this with me as well if you haven't already done it. Oh, so is anybody planning on doing this on a Mac? You could do it on a Mac. Macintosh. No, I like Macs, even if you can't do a lot of things in Office. I just think it's that ongoing feud between Bill Gates and Steve Jobs. You know, they're just not going to let it rest. What's that? Well, the Mac's just the Microsoft version on the Mac always has limitations. You know, so it's sort of like they make it difficult. You could still use it. I've been able to do pretty much everything that I wanted to on because I use it. Yeah, there's a few things, but you could still get by, and my preference would be to use a Mac. Those computers, you know, get by. You do PC. Yeah, and they're more reliable. I'm a Consumer Reports subscriber, and I just my office mate was looking at laptops for her kids, and she was asking me if Dell is any good, and I was like, sound, you know, they've been a good brand for a long time. I was like, I assume so. And I went and looked on Consumer Reports, and they do surveys, and they had like 36,000 people in their database of the surveys, and they're looking at like the people ratings of the reliability, and um, MacBooks were a 10, and Dells were a 4. So like, don't buy a Dell, and I'm sorry, if any of you have Dells, they're just fine. They're just fine. That's a lot of haters. Yeah. So I'm going to download the instruction file and the start file, and I'm going to save my. I've never gotten a virus with the Mac. Oh, well, that's good. I don't want to know. It's as long as it's not contagious. Uh, Yeah, we're going to do Cengage. So open up the project for Module 9. Hi. Um, so we're going to be talking about the Bartlesville Swim Club, swimming. Hey, one of my favorite subjects. So this is a swimming business. You ever known people to? Anybody ever done like lifeguard or you know training kids? No. You can make a business. You can make a living out of it. Bless you. Um, my daughter does it on the weekends and during the summers it's a pretty good thing. Anyway, so we're going to be going through this swim club and talking about data validation and auditing and um, solving complex problems. So this is it gets a little complex. So don't get frustrated. Just watch the video, I suppose, over if it don't get it right the first time. I didn't get it right the first time, so and we were encountering some technical issues the other day, yesterday on the same module for some reason. I have no idea why. So just be patient. All right, so everybody have the file open? No? Yes? For those of you who do have the file open, the first thing that you have to do is we have to add in a new tool. So it's not as if Excel doesn't have enough tools. There are external tools that you can add in. They're called, you know what they're called? The stuff that you can add in? Yeah, they're called add-ins. So that we're going to add in a new tool. So to do that, the place to go is you're going to go to click on File, and this by the way is called the Backstage view. Do you know that? So we're looking at the Backstage. We're going to use this a couple times today. So now we're going to go down to where it says Options, and there's all these different things that you can change, and there's a section called Add-ins. So you're going to click on Add-ins. How'd I get there? So it's File. Oh, on a Mac. Oh, so on a Mac it is, anybody know how to get there on a Mac? Yeah, but it's not File, it's, I think, okay, so we're going to go to Options, Add-ins, and then way down at the bottom left, here where it says Manage, it says Excel Add-ins, and there's different things that you can add, you can manage. If you click on the down arrow, there's XML expansion packs, actions, but we're just going to do COM add-ins, and we're going to do Excel add-ins right now. So to get there, we're going to click Go. And the add-ins dialog box will pop up, and all you want to do is check the box where it says Solver Add-in. You can see it says Tool for Optimizing and Equation Solving. So I'm just going to click OK. And to double check to make sure that it has been added in, you're going to click on the Data tab. And on mine, way over to the right, there's a little section called Analyze, and then Solver is there. Everybody got it? Click on Data. File, Options, Add-ins, and then go down here where it says Excel Add-ins, Go, and then check the box for Solver Add-in. You go to, okay, Luisa Torres is the general manager of the Bartlesville Swim Club in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. Because when you think swimming, you think Oklahoma. As an office assistant at the club, you help Luisa gather and analyze financial data. She asks for your help completing an Excel workbook that contains errors and missing information. So, by the way, if any of you are asked to handle data in any of your jobs, you have to clean it often, make sure that it's useful. A lot of times there's garbage in data, and you know the old garbage in, garbage out thing is true. So you have to make sure it's good, and there's some tools to help you clean up the data. So we're going to learn some of those today. So the first thing you're going to do is be sure you've saved it as _2, by the way. And then we're going to go to the swim lesson sessions worksheet. And here you can see we have lesson types, which are, you know, guppy, seal, otter, eel, and dolphin. I don't know, I guess dolphin's your highest level and guppy is lowest. I'm not sure. Anyway, we are looking at some data here where they have the fee, the number of classes per session, the max students per session, number of instructors, cost, all this information, which basically is giving us our income and our expenses, right? So in business, your income should hopefully exceed your expenses, so that's called profit. That's gross profit. So there's some errors here. So the first thing, if you look at is these divide by zero errors. You get the pound sign div/0 exclamation point. Why are we getting that error, do you think? Divide by zero. Can you divide by zero in math? No, right? It's not possible. So you're going to get an error if you're dividing by zero. That often happens when it's not necessarily there's a zero value in the cell. It's often thinks that it's zero if there's nothing in the cell. So, but we're going to use some tools to trace precedence. What's a precedent? Does it sound like precede? It's something that precedes something else. So precedent means we're going to look backwards basically to solve the root cause of the problem. So we're going to use little arrows. So go to cell B15 and go to the formulas tab. And we have all these auditing tools over here. So here they are: trace precedence, trace dependence. What do you think a dependent is? Yeah, your children, right? They're basically, this is the parent and these are the children, right? They rely on this number. So you can go both ways. So in this case, we're just going to look at what precedes this number to figure out what the error is. And if you look at the cell in the formula bar, it says B14 divided by B8. So B14 is income per session, and B8 is, well, I don't know what B8 is. So we're going to figure that out. So we're going to click on trace precedence. And now we get this, so it's starting here, going to here, and then ending here where the formula is. And what's in cell B8? Click on it. There's nothing there. Yeah, and it looks like they just stuck it here because, for visual purposes, because it's been squished, the height of the row. So we need to fix that. So we're going to go back to cell B15, and it's supposed to be, see if we're going to figure out income per session. This is income per class. We need to figure out how many classes are there. So $1,930 divided by 6. So we got to put the formula in there. So that should be B14 divided by B5. So I'm just going to change B8 to B5 and then hit enter. And the error is gone. Right, so you should have 321.67. And then we're going to copy this formula all the way on over to F15. And now we've gotten rid of those errors. However, there might be more errors on this worksheet. So happens to be right here in B18, but we're going to use a different tool this time to find errors. Because imagine that someone's giving you just a huge worksheet with a bunch of formulas in it, and when they left a bunch of errors in there. So this will help you find it. So we're going to use the error checking tool. This is number, we're on number 2. I'm going to click on error checking. And this dialog box pops up, and it says error in cell B18 equals averages B14 colon F14. So it's calculating the average of B14 F14, right? That's the formula up here. And then it tells you what the error is: invalid name error. The formula contains unrecognized text. Well, what text is in here? Averages. Is that the correct formula name for? No, so we got to get rid of the S. So I'm just going to get rid of the S in the formula bar and click on resume. And it's fixed it. So you should have 1951 as the average income per session. And click OK, and yay, we've got that one down. All right, so these are auditing tools that are helpful to fix errors. Error checking. Error checking, just click on it. It's not finding. I lost the error. Hang on a second. Let me see if I can go back. Just go to error checking and then change. It's just basically you have to change the formula in cell B18. So you have to have B18 highlighted. So, and then get rid of the averages. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What so I've been mentioning, I'm trying to get them. I'm hopefully going to get them to change the orientation of these desks. Yeah, and the screens. I'm sure at the time they were state of the art, but they're pretty small, compared to what you can get these days. And the resolution is it's like version 1 of these high definition televisions, and it's like half the resolution of what they are now today, maybe even a quarter. So if we can get them bigger and brighter and have everybody. Yeah, I was thinking like we could get one that could take up a lot of that space there. We can get one there too. And anyway, we'll see. Keep my fingers crossed. All right, so that's number 2. Number 3, we're going to go to the. By the way, now's a good time probably to save your file. Crash, which it happens. We've seen that happen. All right, so if you look at this next file, this is the session enrollment, and there's some holes in the data here, right? There's nothing here for Otter session fees. There's nothing here for minimum session enrollment. So there's a lot of blank data, and so we have some work to do to get this cleaned up. So we're going to use the tool that we've used before, and it's oh, no, I'm sorry. Before we do that, we're going to do some data validation tools. So data validation. Have any of you ever had to enter data for a job? Key entry? Yeah? So like what, numbers or? Okay, so at the logistics office, did they ever have like parameters on, so like if you make an error in entering the data, it will give you like an alert? Yeah. So Excel will do that, and that's what we're going to do is we're going to figure out how to do that. Early in my career, I had to do a lot of data entry for the Navy, and we didn't have this tool, but that's what they do. So to help prevent errors and to educate the data entry operator, there's a couple of tools called data validation. So number 3, they're asking us to add data validation to the range B8 to F10 as follows. So we're going to highlight B8 to F10. Okay, so pretend this is a huge data entry task, and we need to put in some parameters here. And so we're going to go to data validation, which is, where is that? On the data tab. Click on the down arrow for data validation. It's the first one. There's different things that you can do with data validation. We're just going to look at the first one, but you could also circle invalid data or clear the circles. So we're going to click on data validation, and this dialog box shows 3 tabs: settings, the input message, and the error alert. The settings are what are the validation criteria? In other words, that if you type a number bigger or smaller than it should be within a certain range, it'll automatically create an alert. So we're going to figure that one out first. So the validation criteria is, they're saying it should be a whole number, right? Because this is enrollment, so it's hard to enroll half of a child, I suppose. And the data are going to be greater than 0, right? So you have to have at least one kid. or the number has to be at least number 1. And so here's the input message. This is a message that's going to the data entry operator. So this is what Cynthia would be told. This is, and so it has 2 pieces of information. There's a title and then the input message. I don't know why we need a title for it, but that's what they have. So we're going to, the title of this is Session Enrollment. And the input message is enter the minimum, average, or maximum enrollment per lesson type. So enter the minimum, average, comma, by the way, or maximum enrollment per type with a period. Okay, so that's the input message. Now we have to give the error alert in case they make a mistake. So that's going to be this up here, and it says show error alert after invalid data is entered. So that box is checked already by default. And there are 3 alerts that you could have. They want us to use a stop, but if you click on the down arrow, there's also a warning. And then there's information. But we want them to stop. So the title is the end of the input message is per lesson type. Yep. Just click on the tab next to the input message. Yeah, don't press OK yet. Go back to it and be sure to highlight B8 to B10 because it looks at it cell by cell. So on the error alert, the title of the error alert is enrollment error. And the error message is session enrollment must be greater than 0, period. So session enrollment, oops, not capitalized. Session enrollment must be greater than 0, period. Now you can press OK. All right, so notice how this little, looks like a Post-it note, this little thing pops up here. It's a comment box. It's basically telling you that to the data entry operator, this is what you're supposed to do. So if I click on any one of these boxes, it's going to keep popping up somewhere. So that's kind of interesting. Now, what makes it fun is if you want to see the error alert, if you go to cell, I don't know, C8 and type -1, because they said it has to be a positive whole number, look what happens. Boom. Remember, so that's what you just put in. Session enrollment must be greater than 0. Retry. All right, so I'm just going to get rid of it, but that's what happens. All right, so I'm going to save the file now. Any questions on this part? Data validation. All right, so now we're going to go back to the GoalSeek refresher. So number 4, Louisa thinks that the club can make as much as $2,000 in income per session from the otter lessons here. So income per session. So right now it's negative 265. But we're going to use GoalSeek to determine how to achieve that goal as follows. So set the maximum session income for otter lessons, cell D15 to 2,000. So I'm going to go to GoalSeek. Does anybody remember? So I'm first going to highlight cell D15 because that's where we want the GoalSeek, the value to be sought. Does anybody remember where GoalSeek is hiding? It's in the Data tab. What if analysis. There you go. So yeah, there's different kinds of what if analysis. There's GoalSeek, and then the scenario manager, which we're going to be learning about today. So we're going to do GoalSeek. again. So click on GoalSeek. And remember these, there's the set cell. That's the cell that you're trying to seek. So you're going to give it a value. And what's the value? What's their goal? 2,000. So we're going to thank you. So we want it to be 2,000. And now the tricky part is figuring out which cell they want you to change. So this is going to be cell D4, right? So it's not tricky. Actually, it's the one that's empty, right? So we don't know how much we need to charge per session. So we're going to type in D4 and click OK. And isn't that cool? Oh, the cell does not contain a formula in yours? I would just copy which one's a formula? Is that a formula? I would copy. There you go. Didn't have a formula. That's D15. All right, did everyone get this? Right, so you need to charge $189 per session to get to $2,000 for maximum session income. All right, so that's kind of interesting. Helps you work backwards. Okay, so that's number 4. Number 5, there's a couple other holes here. So Louisa also wants to make at least $620 in income per session from the SEAL lessons. Use GoalSeek to determine how to achieve this goal as follows. Set the minimum session income for the SEAL lessons, cell C13. So that's our first hint. So I'm going to click on C13. D4. Yes, we did. That was what GoalSeek did. Yeah. Do you have $189? And okay, that's it. That was it. So it's just all part of, those are both part of the GoalSeek. Well, and we'll do it again right here. So number 5, C13. So highlight C13, and we're going to go over to the GoalSeek tool, and we want this now to be 620 per session. And the changing cell is the empty one up here. And I'm going to click OK. By the way, I think this is on the certification exam. I'm not positive. So just know how to use the GoalSeek, at least know which cells to click on. So I'm going to click OK. I went to GoalSeek, so C13, 2 value, 620. And by changing cell, it's this one here, C8. Yeah, I can just type it in, or I clicked on it. For some reason, when you click on it, it gives you that absolute reference. Not in this case, no. It doesn't really matter because it's only referring to that cell once. Okay, so we're going to click OK, and then it counts up to that 620, and it tells us that, I forgot which one was blank here. The 5 is there now. Okay, so we got one more hole here. So we want to figure out what our average session income is for guppies, and that they want that to be B14. Click OK. B14, and then go over to GoalSeek, and they want it to be 1200, 1200, and changing cell B9. So how much should the average session be? So I'm going to click OK. So the average session enrollment should be 10. in order to get to $1,200. What's that? It is nice to know. There's a lot of, yeah, it's definitely we're getting into the more advanced tools. And you can use it for so many things. I was my daughter, remember, was trying to raise money, and we have this huge lemon tree in our backyard, and she wanted to work backwards, like how much what's her maximum profit can she make, based on, what the likely sales are and how many lemons we have on our tree and all that kind of stuff. And we were trying to use an Excel spreadsheet and all that kind of stuff. If we could have just worked backwards and used GoalSeek, I'll do that the next time. Um, that's kind of how we did it. But the problem was is that the when she needed to sell the lemonade was not during the season of lemon season. So she went and picked all the lemons, and we had an entire half of our freezer was filled with lemon ice cubes, lemon lemon juice ice cubes. So we had those for 6 months. Um, but she made a profit, so it was good. Yeah, I think like $420 or something. Yeah, off lemonade. Yeah, it was good. Nothing like fresh lemon. Or we told them it was fresh. What? I forget. $2 or $3. Yeah. All right. So now we're going to go to. Did we get it all? So that's number 6. So number 7. Probably should pull down the file here. Hang on one second. So number 7, go to the current rates worksheet. Louisa has already created a scenario named max attendance that calculates profit based on the maximum number of students attending each session. Add a new scenario to compare the profit with average attendance as follows. All right, so a scenario, so which one am I going to? Current rates? Is that right? So a scenario, what is a scenario? Sometimes you want to know what the maximum you can charge, what the minimum you can charge, what the average is that you could charge, per session, or the average number of students. So you can create scenarios for each of these, like high, medium, and low. Normally what I would do is I would just create a row for each of those data, or each of those scenarios, but you could also do it so that you can flip them in and out. And so you don't have to have too many numbers on the screen, because sometimes that can get confusing as well. So we're going to use the scenario manager right now. So add a new scenario. So where do we add scenarios? We're going to go over here up to the what if analysis under the data tab. And here's our scenario manager. Remember, they said that max attendance has already been added, so Louisa has already done that work. So we're going to add 2 more scenarios. So to do that, we're going to click on add, and we're going to give the scenario name the next scenario, which is they want to look at the scenario for average. Oh, so on a Mac it's a plus sign? All right, thank you. Yeah, shout it out, because some people may be listening and that would be helpful to them. Add, or plus sign if you're using a Mac. And so we're going to add the scenario name average attendance. And then there's the changing cells. So that's these cells here, B9 to F9. All right, so that means is that they're going to change. We're going to swap numbers in and out. So we're now going to do 7B, B9, F9, 7C. So we're going to click OK. and this scenario values dialog box pops up, and it's all of this is doing is showing you the numbers that are in the cells right now, right? 8 for guppies, 7 for seals, etc. So they're telling us that these are the average numbers, so accept these numbers. So we're going to click OK to accept them. It's working. So it doesn't show you the numbers if you're using a Mac. Okay, got it. All right. So if you go back to the scenario manager, now we have our average attendance scenario been added, right? So we're going to add our last one, which is we're going to add a third one. And that one is, where am I? Low attendance. So we're going to create a scenario. What does low attendance look like? So we're going to type in low attendance for the scenario name. The changing cells again are B9 to F9. And we're going to click OK. But now in this case, we want to change the scenario for low attendance. I wish it's told us that the scenario name up here. It doesn't do that, so it can be confusing. But this should be low attendance scenario values. So Microsoft needs to fix that. We're going to change these. The numbers are for guppies. We're going to change the 8 to a 6. And the seals are now going to become a 5. And the otters are 10. And a low eel number is 6. And a low dolphin number is 6 as well. So it should go 6, 5, 10, 6, 6. So I'm going to click OK. And now we have our 3 different scenarios. So nothing happened because in order for the numbers to change, like if we want to see the low attendance numbers, we're going to have to click Show. So go ahead and do that. Click Show. And you see now there's that 6, 5, 10, 6, 6 that we just added in. And if you click on Max, or if you click on Average and click Show, all those numbers change, and then everything else changes that is dependent on it. And now click on Max and click Show, and that's where they want us to leave it. All right, so that's what the Scenario Manager is. Might be helpful if you remember how to use that. So close that dialog box and save your file. And that was number 9. We're going to go to number 10. And number 10 is go to the new rates worksheet. Are the numbers, your numbers should be 15, 12, 12, 12, 10 in cell B9 to F10. So go back to your scenario manager, highlight B9 to F9, and then go back to your scenario manager. And do you have a max attendance, average attendance, and low attendance? Click on max attendance and then click Show, and then close it. So now you want to go to the new rates worksheet. And it contains 3 scenarios showing profit with $10, $15 or increase, or a $10 rate decrease. And they want to compare the average profit per session based on the scenarios as follows. So, right, have you ever thought about, if you're running a business, how much, would our profit look like if we raise fees by $10 versus $15, or even decreasing it? So that's what we're going to use the scenario manager to do that. So go to the new rates worksheet, and let's see, number 10, create a scenario summary report. Because we want to compare the average profit per session based on the scenarios as follows. So that's over under the scenario manager again. And you can see someone's created these for us, what a $10 increase looks like, a 15, a $10 decrease. If you wanted to see like a $10 decrease, if you click show, see everything goes down. I think it's $10 increase. Okay, so we want to create a summary report that's hiding down here under this little summary button. Is it the same on a Mac? So you go to Scenario Manager under What If Analysis, and then go down to Summary. Make sure you have $10 increase highlighted and you've clicked Show, and then click Summary. No, no. Yeah. Click on Summary. And there's two different report types. There's a Scenario Summary, and then there's a Scenario Pivot Table. Both of these are reports. And so the result cells are going to be based on the cells B11 to F11. All right, so we're going to click OK. Yeah, so you've built a new pivot table or summary report, and what this is showing is here's our changing cells, right? Those are the, uh-oh, I did mine wrong. Sorry, let's go back, scratch that, delete this file, delete this worksheet. I did it wrong because I highlighted the wrong thing in the scenario summary. So go back, yeah, go ahead, delete that worksheet, and then, yeah, that scenario summary report. I right-clicked on the tab and then hit delete. So then go back to Scenario Manager and then go to no, wait a minute, $10. What the heck did I do? All right, why did these numbers change? Do your numbers show 150, 200? They changed. Yours shows 150? All right. Yeah, because, yeah, you might be okay. Yours shows, okay, so what are the numbers here? 150. Okay. Yeah, because I had you show those numbers for some reason, and they should be based on these numbers. Yeah, yeah, yeah. 150 for cell B10, C10 is 200, D10 is 200, E10 is 250, and F10 is 350. Okay, and then go back to the scenario manager and then click on summary. What? Yeah, I think so. I think so. Yeah, yeah. So what I did was I accidentally had you execute the scenario summary, and they didn't want you to do that yet. They want to show it, what does it look like after you execute it. So these numbers have to be 150, yeah, $10 less basically for each cell. So click on scenario summary once more, click OK, and now this is showing us what I do. Don't press show. Just go to summary. And then the, yes. There's your pivot. There's your, okay. Yeah, no, you weren't supposed to, because we're supposed to show what does it look like after the $10 increase. Yeah, so originally it's $150. The current values were 150, 200, 200, 250, 350. If you charge $10, it would be 160. If you charge $15, it would be 165, and a $10 decrease would go down to 140. So it just creates a little table for you to execute all those different numbers, and then it also shows you the resulting profit based on the increases of $10, 15, and decrease of $10, right? So that's what this is. I think they want us to change the name of this report. Yeah, so this should be called, so I'm going to right click on it, click on rename, and this should be called New Rates Scenario Report. So that's number 10. I'm going to save the file. Control S. Louisa also wants to focus on one or two types of lessons at a time when comparing the average profit per session. So go back to the new rates worksheet. This is the one we were looking at before. And create a scenario pivot table using the range B11 to F11 as the result cells. So that's these again here, B11 to F11. As the result cells to compare to the average profit per session depending on the rate change in a pivot table. Hint, the defined names of the range B11 to F11 appear in the report. So we're going to go back to our scenario manager, and then buried way down here is that summary report. So I'm going to click on summary. And here, remember, there's two bubbles to check. The second one is the one we want next. So we're going to click Scenario Pivot Table Report, and then click OK. Bye. Good luck. Yes. Okay, so here's our scenario summary report. So what's this showing? It's showing us our rows, which are B10 to F10, which were $10 increase, $10 decrease, $10 increase, $15 increase, B10 to F10. All right, so this is a table showing what the profit is for each of the increases. The only thing they want us to change here is the format, because these should be in dollars, and they want us to be the accounting format, I believe. Oh, sorry. Change the name of this table to New Rates Pivot Table. Pivot table is all one word with the T capitalized. So I'm going to hit enter. So format cells B4 to F6. So I'm going to highlight B4 to F6, and there's two different ways to do it. There's the thorough way, which is if we click on the down arrow of each of the values, because that's what these numbers are here. So here's like the Guppy new profit, right? Here's the field for the Guppy new profit and all the numbers. And remember over here, there's that value field settings button in a pivot table. So we're going to click on number format and then choose accounting. And then we're going to go over to decimal places and then count down to 0. And then click OK. Yes. I'll do it for the second one. So let's just click on Seal Profit, New Profit. I'll do it 4 more times. So click on Seal Profit, click on Value Field Settings. And then down at the bottom left, Number Format. And then we're going to choose, they want it in accounting, and they want to have 0 decimal places. So I'm going to count down to 0. I'm going to click OK. And then OK again. And then that looks right. What's that? Yeah, that's the slow way. The other way to do it is just highlight the remaining cells. So that would be B4 to F6. And then go to your Home tab. And then on the number tool here, click on the down arrow. And then go all the way down to the bottom where it says More Number Formats. We're going to choose Accounting. And then count down 2 decimal places, 0, click OK. And they've all been changed. I don't know if it changes it in the here. Yeah, it did. It changes it here. So that's the fast way to do it. That's what I would do. All right. So let's see. All right. Now, here's the next step. Number 12 is where it gets a little tricky. So we're going to be using that new tool called the Solver. It's a little complicated, but if you take a step back and think about it, it's pretty cool what it does. And let's see. So the first thing is it wants us to go to the new schedule worksheet. So where is that? New schedule. So that's the last one in my workbook. And make this a little bit bigger. So here you got the Bartlesville Swim Club proposed new schedule with a bunch of zeros in it. So we don't have the schedule built up yet, and we just have limited information. And from this limited information, we are going to, with some certain criteria, some parameters, we're going to be able to figure out how many sessions we should have in, how many lessons we should have in each of our types for the classes here. So we get to work backwards. So, and based on what's our maximum amount of profit can we make? All right. So, have any of you ever taken swim lessons? Yeah. No. Yeah. So, like, you go in a pool and there's usually a few kids, right, with an instructor, and there might be a couple of lessons going on at any given time. But most health departments and whoever, the people are in charge of safety for pools limit the number of people that can be in a pool at any given time. So those are some of the kinds of parameters that you have to deal with. Like a lot of people that run these businesses, my daughter works for one of these people, and they rent out the pool, right? So they know, it costs a certain amount per hour, but they also have limitations on how many kids they can stick in a pool at any given time. Like you have the little babies versus, the adults. Like the bigger they are, the more room they're going to need to move around, et cetera. So anyway, a lot of that is going to play in here. So we have all that information, and we're going to use that to try to figure out what's the maximum number of kids that can we run through in order to maximize our profit, right? We want to maximize profit. Isn't that what you want to do in business most of the time? Yeah, it's a good thing if you like profit. So that is cell G17. So now we're going to go over to our solver, and the solver is hiding, remember, in the data tab on the ribbon way over to the right. This is the one we just added in. So you're going to click on solver. B17. It doesn't really matter. G17, sorry. G17. Solver's on your data tab. Oh, you have to add in. Can someone show them how to add it in? Yeah. You keep saving it. Yeah. If you feel nervous that it's going to crash on you. So that's number 12. Number 13 is Louisa wants to document the answer solver found, including all the constraints. and add a list of the values solver changed to solve the problem. Produce an answer report for the solver. So to get the answer report, I'm going to go back into my solver. I'm just going to close this. So I'm going to go back into my solver, and I'm going to click Solve again. And over here where it says Reports, I'm going to highlight Answer. I was over, so choose Solver, and then go down and click on Solve again. And the dialog box, it shows, it says over to the right, it says Reports, and in that Reports box, it says Answer. Highlight Answer, just click on it, and then click OK. And notice in mine, it's inserted this new answer report worksheet, so I'm going to click on that one. Well, actually, before I click on it, I'm going to click on that one, and they want us to change the name of this, so I'm going to double click on it, and then change it to New Schedule Answer Report. I'm going to type in New Schedule So if you're going on a job interview and you want to demonstrate your Excel prowess, tell them that you know how to use Solver and you know all the parameters, because there's a 99% chance that the person that's interviewing you won't know how to use this. All right, you say, yeah, I know about the status. It's either binding or non-binding. All right, so what this is just it's basically the model that's built all behind it. I have no idea what all these numbers mean, but if you look at them, you can see this is how they were met, and whether it's binding or not binding, meaning whether. Yes. So number 14, the very last step here is you need to mark the workbook as final to indicate you're finished revising the workbook. Have you guys ever shared files off, like with Microsoft Word or something like that, and people keep making edits to it, and you're never sure what the right version is? If you ever want to have the last version, you can mark it as final. I think you can do this in Word as well. And so the way to do that is if you go into your File tab, and now we're looking at this. This is called the back screen. Backstage, sorry, the backstage view. Over here, there's different things you can do. You can protect your workbook, you can inspect it, you can manage it, all kinds of things. This is a form of protection. And so you see it's got that lock and key there. So I'm going to click on the down arrow for that. And there's different ways to protect yourself. And the very first one, it's got that little document symbol with the ribbon on it. And it lets leaders know the workbook is final and make it read only. So that means that they can't edit it. All right, so we're going to click on that. And then you get this information dialog box, and it says the workbook will be marked as final and then saved. That's fine. That's what we wanted to do. So I'm going to click OK. And then we got another dialog box that says this document is marked as final to indicate that editing is complete and that this is the final version of the document. So let it be written, so let it be done. When a document is marked as final, the status is set to final, and typing, editing commands, and proofing marks are turned off. All right, so that's fine. It's just giving us information. We're going to click OK here. And notice here we got that information thing popping up. It says marked as final, and author has marked this workbook as final to discourage editing. I guess you can edit it anyway. We don't want to do that. We just want to save it. So I think we're done.